All right, let's just get straight to it. We're going to cut through all the political talk and look at the hard numbers, the ones that are really going to shape America's future. And the question we're asking is a huge one. Can a superpower actually survive if its people stop having enough kids to even replace themselves?
This right here, this is the number that changes everything. 1.6. That is the current total fertility rate in the United States. Think of it this way. It's the core of our entire economic engine, our social model, and right now, that engine is seriously sputtering.
You see, for a country's population to just stay level, not grow, just break even, you need a fertility rate of 2.1. The little 0.1 is to account for kids who don't survive to adulthood. So at 1.6, we're not just slowing down. We're running a deep structural people deficit.
Let's just say it plainly. This is the uncomfortable truth that comes out of that simple math. The entire American system, which has always been built on the idea of more people, more growth, more consumption, well, it's running headfirst into a demographic wall.
Now, this reality, it really clashes with some of the biggest stories we tell ourselves as a nation. For decades, we've kind of coasted on a set of myths about America's destiny. So, let's see how those myths actually stack up against the cold, hard data.
First up is the most powerful myth of all, American exceptionalism. You know, the idea that sure, other developed countries might be aging and shrinking, but the US, we're somehow immune to all that.
And look, you might see this and think, hey, 1.6 is way better than South Korea's 0.7. And you're not wrong. But that misses the real story. We are on the exact same downward path as Japan and the rest of the developed world. We're not the exception to the rule, we're just a few years behind on the very same road.
Okay, myth number 2. This is the one you hear all the time. It's the go-to answer in every debate. We'll just use immigration to fix the problem. But as we're about to see, the numbers tell a much, much more complicated story.
And the third big one is our almost religious faith in technology. The idea that AI and automation will just make a shrinking workforce a non-issue. We're definitely going to put that one to the test.
So where does this all hit home first? Where does the rubber meet the road for pretty much every American family? Well, we have to talk about Social Security.
You know, the whole system was designed with a really simple logic, kind of like a pyramid. You have a huge base of young workers paying in, and that money supports a much smaller group of retirees at the top. And for a long, long time, that worked perfectly.
This slide right here, this is where the math gets brutal. Back in 1997, you had almost 9.5 workers paying for every one retiree. By 2050, that's projected to crash to less than 4. The pyramid isn't just shrinking, it's flipping upside down. And this isn't a political opinion, it's just the mathematical reality of a broken contract.
And all those solutions you hear politicians talk about, raising taxes a bit, making people work longer, they're just Band-Aids. They're treating the symptoms, but they do absolutely nothing to fix the underlying disease, which is that there just aren't enough new people paying into the system.
But hey, this is so much bigger than just retirement checks. This demographic shift is changing the very engine of the entire U.S. economy, and with it, America's place in the world.
It's a chain reaction, really. Fewer young people means a smaller workforce, obviously, but it also means fewer people buying homes, cars, and everything else. That shrinks the whole consumer market. And if your customer base is shrinking, why would you invest in new products? It all just leads to slower growth and forces the government to take on more and more debt.
So this is the real question that everyone from Wall Street to Washington is now having to face. American growth, as we've known it, has always been built on having more people. What's the playbook for an economy that's built to shrink?
Okay, so let's circle back to those common comebacks, immigration and AI. Let's really look at them, not as myths, but as actual real-world solutions.
This quote really nails it. Immigration is absolutely crucial, no doubt about it, but it's not a silver bullet. The reason is something called demographic momentum. Basically, the sheer number of baby boomers already here and heading into retirement is just so massive it's like a tidal wave. Immigration can help, but it can't stop the wave. Plus, immigrants get old too, and they'll eventually need support from the same system.
So what about AI? The big promise is that robots will make us so productive we won't need as many workers, but the reality is, a robot can make a car, but it can't buy one. AI can solve for supply, but it doesn't solve for demand. A robot doesn't need a mortgage, it doesn't start a family, it doesn't create the broad consumer base that actually fuels an economy like ours. It's a piece of the puzzle, for sure,
but it's not a replacement for people.
The thing is, these domestic trends, they don't happen in a bubble. They have huge consequences for the whole world. So let's take a look at how this is going to reshape the global balance of power.
Just look at these projections. See the change from 2016 to the forecast for 2050. India is expected to leapfrog the US into the #2 spot. And look at Indonesia. It's projected to jump over both Japan and Germany. This isn't some complex economic theory. It's a direct result of demographics. They have the young people. We don't.
This chart shows you exactly where the future is being born. In 2021, about 29% of all babies were born in sub-Saharan Africa. By the end of the century, that's projected to be over half. The world's demographic and economic center of gravity isn't just shifting a little. It is tilting dramatically, and it's happening fast.
And this all leads to a conclusion you just can't avoid. The great geopolitical fight of the next 100 years isn't going to be over oil or land. It's going to be a global competition for human capital. It's going to be a scramble to attract the world's brightest, youngest, most productive people.
I mean, this assessment from a top medical journal says it all. This isn't some minor adjustment we're talking about. This is a total reconfiguration of the world as we know it. And it's all being driven by the most basic human act, having children.
And that really is the final takeaway. We can argue all day about politics, but we can't argue with arithmetic. This is a math problem, and America is already deep inside the equation. The clock is ticking.